So welcome to this quick slideshow. My name is Caroline Douthwaite. I'm the CEO of Snowball Assets. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this quick opportunity to explain how service-based businesses could book and manage qualified conversations with highly interested buyers using Facebook lead gen. Okay, that's pretty much what I'm going to do. It won't take very long. Before I dive in there, I'm just going to show you some results. Because if you know anything about sales, and I'm sure you probably do, customers do not buy based on features or how things will do something. They buy results and the benefits of what that product or service is actually going to do for them in their life and their lifestyles. So I'll quickly start off by showing you some results on what we've actually got, and then I'll dive into it without any messing around. I'll get straight in and I'll show you exactly how we do it. So very quickly, it was actually one of our solar power companies that worked with in New Zealand. We actually spent $17,000 with us in 12 months. And in that time, we actually got 1,680 leads, some as low as about $4 or $5 each, some, $15 to $20 each, and some as high as $26 each. But if you're buying leads, I mean, if you get them on 3 solar quotes or somewhere else, people often spend $30, $40 a lead for a decent lead. So obviously it's a lot less than that. And it can be scaled as well, which is really, really cool. So this is the dashboard, and you can see obviously with these results here exactly what we have done. So let's dive into it and I'll show you how we do it. So first thing you need to do when we take people on, there's 2 options. Either we run the ads for you or you do it in-house, and we show you how. Like, take one of your staff members who wants to learn how to do this, and what you're really doing is investing in that staff member so we can hold their hand and really take them through and show them exactly what they need to do to get them results as fast as possible, which is kind of the reason, the whole goal of what we're trying to do. So what we need to first do is build an RMS. So this is if we're teaching you how to do it, or if we come to you, we need an RMS. So what is an RMS? An RMS is a relevant message statement, and we craft that RMS around a unique selling point. So an RMS, let's just look at my RMS. So it's who, what, how, and when. Well, sometimes you put when on, but who, what, and how. So if I just go back 2 slides, so who, we work with service-based business. That's who, to manage qualified conversations with highly interested buyers using Facebook lead gen. So what that does, it tells you who we work with, what we do, and how we do it. Okay. Sometimes you might want to put in 90 days or in 30 days or whatever. So that's your RMS, and what we do is we craft that so it's relevant to your unique selling point. And when it comes to unique selling point, you've really got to understand that if you're in service in the whole of New Zealand, or the whole of Australia, or the whole of America. Imagine if you're like a solar power company in New York or Sydney or say even Auckland. You need a really good USP. You need to stand out from the crowd. If you don't do that, then you're just in a red ocean. You're with all the rest of the sharks, all trying to do the same thing. You all look the same. You're all doing the same thing. And it's very, very difficult to, disassociate yourself with that crowd. What you need to do is you need to focus on a blue ocean where there's a lot more opportunity. And the way we do that is using a USP, in the RMS, the relevant message statement, is really built to explain that USP to somebody. That's all it really is. Very, very simple, very snappy, and really, really gets to the point. Now, if you're focusing on an entire country, like whole of New Zealand or whole of Australia, then in a lot of the rural areas, the USP isn't as important. But if you're focused in any city, you really, really need to stand out from the crowd. It's really important that we do that in order to get people attracted to work with you. So, we focus on moving you into a blue ocean and not fighting with the rest of the piranhas, so to speak. So the first thing we need to do to get started is we need to craft an offer. If something isn't working, any marketing thing, it can either be one of three things. It's either the offer, the message, or the audience. So crafting your offer is really getting that RMS perfect. So it's exactly how it's going to resonate with your target audience on an emotional level, and then putting that into a message, which is kind of like your sales copy in a long form copy. It's really going to, get those people thinking about how your product or service, well, mostly services, is actually going to help them, connect them to the emotional results of what's going to happen. For example, so imagine if you're going to get a solar power system, some people, technical people, we want to know, whether monocrystalline, polycrystalline, is it a 72 cell panel, a 60 cell panel? Is it the two meter panels? Is it the 1.6? I used to own a solar power company for 8 years. So one of solar power is actually one of my specialities. And that's how we can, craft your offer, put it into a really, really powerful message that's really going to resonate with them. And that's really the most important thing you can do. And we will help you do that, and train the person who we're working with, or we'll do it ourselves to make sure that's really going to work for you. So sales copy is a very important part of creating that message. And when you actually create the sales copy, it has to be done in a way that is not technical. We've got to really speak in a really plain, clear, concise way, which all broken down so it's really easy to read. We don't want the least amount of friction as possible for them to actually click on get me a quote button, to give you the maximum amount of opportunities and keep that lead cost down as possible. So when it comes to sales copy, sales copy itself is an entire skill. Some people run businesses just doing sales copy. So with me being in sales for the last 24 years, I've got really, really good at sales copy. And there's a certain structure that we use in order to make sure that it's really going to, give a lot of power, and it's really going to impact the emotional part of the reader's brain. Okay, so that's what it's about. So sales copy is part of it. So first is create the offer, crafting the message, writing the message into sales copy, and then the next is creative. So creative is something that's very, very important, and it's only there to actually stop the reader actually going any further. So when people are on Facebook, they're not usually looking or browsing for solar power, but Facebook is a very, very powerful thing. In fact, it's the largest database of people in the world. And when Facebook actually knows when people have been on their browser looking at solar power systems or looking at quotes. So when they've done that and then they start scrolling through Facebook, we can actually put an ad up in front of them, which will catch their attention and say, oh yeah, I was looking at solar power, and it'll actually get them engaged with your post. So the creative part of it is only to stop them scrolling. But obviously there's a lot more depth that goes into it, and I'll explain a bit more now. So here's 3 examples of something that will stop someone from scrolling. It's got to be something that's on an emotional level, but there's more that goes into it as well. It's got to be relevant at the same time. So for example, on this left one, we've got a young girl with very, very amazing eyes, and that's kind of like, it's going to stop a certain type of people who are interested in that sort of thing. So it's not really relevant for solar, but it actually worked quite well with consultants, because people who are teaching others how to build a business online. In one of my staff members goes, oh, I've got something great, and they brought this next one up for a solar power company, a huge sun exploding. And yeah, well, that's all well and good, and it might be quite nice to look at. If you're looking for solar power, it's not relevant enough. It isn't really going to work. It's just a picture that's going to stop some people, but the people it stops might not necessarily be people wanting solar power. There's one in the picture I actually used in some of my consultancy posts, and it actually worked really, really well. But again, it's got to be relevant. So how do we make it relevant for solar power or some of our service-based business like lawyers or accountants or something like that? Well, this is 4 examples of 4 pictures of something in solar. So the top left is great. It's a nice modern house. But if you're in New Zealand or Australia, maybe it's more American. But if you're in New Zealand and Australia, it's not that type of style. We don't have those style houses. So it doesn't really resonate with them. The one below that, I mean, yeah, it's got the happy people on it, which is really important. There's 3 things you're really trying to do. Get people who are happy, so you got an emotional tie. It's got to be relevant to the actual product or service, and it's got to be authentic. So anything that's really going to hit all those three points is going to resonate the most. And the more wild it is, as long as it's got those 3 things, the better it's going to do. This one in the bottom left is cheesy as hell. It looks fake as hell. It's not something that anyone's really going to move towards. So then you may think, okay, well, let's try something that's more emotional. Let's try and get someone who's emotionally going to tie to something with the sun, and that's the bottom right one. But the problem is, it's not relevant. It just isn't relevant. So, it isn't going to work. The top right, yes, it's relevant. It's a nice picture, but it's not authentic. It's just a stock photograph of some guy who's obviously, good looking. And it's one of those pictures in the top right is great if you took it yourself and you actually had one of your guys fitting it on the roof. And we only need probably 3 images every 6 months to a year. So it isn't a lot of effort to actually get those images, but it's got to stop that person from scrolling so they start reading the copy. So once we've got the offer right crafted and we've got the message, the next thing is the audience. And this is where Facebook really shines, because it actually has an average of 52,000 data points against every single user it has, which is quite scary. It actually knows us more than we remember about ourselves a lot of the time. But with Facebook, what you can actually do is you can actually target people who are either on holiday or who live in a certain area. We can also do detailed targeting and actually focus on things that people have shown interest on. So like I said earlier on before, if someone's been on the internet looking for, let's just say, I keep using the example solar. So if you're an accountant or a lawyer or something like that, we can change it. But I'll just use the one for solar for now. We can actually target people who have actually recently been looking for solar power systems. So if they've actually done any searching, we can actually retarget those people. So the audience is very, very, very powerful. And not only that, I think it's like 70% of people in Australia, and the same with America and New Zealand, actually have a Facebook account. There's like 10 or 15% of people who aren't your target audience anyway, and then the rest are kids. So you'll find that it's almost over 90% of people who are homeowners would have a Facebook account. So it's a really, really powerful tool based on just that. We can target their demographics, their age, their sex, and whether they're a homeowner. We can really, really niche down and get the right audience and help Facebook's algorithm learn who your perfect customer is. So as we split test and move the actual the ad through its different tests, the algorithm will get more and more accurate, and it'll actually start bringing your lead cost down. So if you've actually got a Facebook Ads Manager account already, great. That's going to certainly give us a leg up. If you don't, obviously we're going to have to run a few traffic ads just to really build that pixel data up before we start getting leads. It'll only take a few days, maybe a week. And then what we do is we test. There's so many tests you can actually do with Facebook. You can test dynamic creative, for example. And what that is, it's where you put 3 images in, say 2 copies and a couple of headlines, and Facebook actually tests all of the combinations and works out which is the winning one, which one resonates the most. We can test the different audiences. We can test the different placements, where exactly on Facebook it's going, Instagram, these sorts of places. So there's many different tests we do, and that's how we bring the lead cost down. If it starts creeping up a little bit, to say $15, $16, we'll do a little bit of a test. We'll try and bring it down, and that's really what you're paying someone to do. Set it up. Once it's set up, is to test. Every 4 days to 7 days, in the scene where it's going. Obviously, the more ad spend you have, the more you can the faster you can test. Every 2 or 3 days, or whatever it needs to be doing. But we need to test constantly, changing things around and keeping that ad cost down. But in some occasions, we can leave an ad run that runs very well for a month, or even 3 weeks, so without any tests. So it really depends on the situation, where you are, and the actual message and offer that you've got in your sales copy. So here's an example. If you there's 2 parts to this. If you have your own CRM, that's great. What we can do is we can actually automatically send all of the leads from Facebook using Zapier directly into your CRM, and you guys can manage them from there. If you're looking for CRM and you want to do something, we also can supply one of them. This is the one we use. It's called the Guide Profit System, and it's a very easy drag and drop system. So you can see this under Warm Solar NZ. You can see it's kind of slanty. That's because I was actually half dragging it across. When I let go of the mouse, it actually it squares itself back up. It just goes on a slant when you're dragging it. So what we can do is we can actually filter all the leads into a cold Solar NZ list, and we can actually send each lead to different sales staff. So when they open it up, they can see all their leads and they can manage it out here. But this CRM isn't just a CRM, it has a lot more to it. You can actually build websites, you can build funnels, you can attach all of your Google calendars, you can make forms, you can make surveys. You can have, it actually has a built-in autoresponder where you can actually send out emails to people. It has every single thing you could possibly want. We can run this our entire business just from the Guide Profit System, and it's actually one of the fastest growing businesses in America today. The amount of people that they're bringing on board is absolutely insane. The first one was one called ClickFunnels by Brunson, but the problem is with that, it didn't have the autoresponder, it didn't have triggers, it didn't have a lot of the features that this one has. This actually has everything you possibly need. So if that's something you want as well, great. If not, then we can just send the leads to your CRM and you can manage them however you want. If you want to use this one, this is the dashboard. You can see that someone made 91,000 in 1 month on this, and it actually gives you all of the pie charts in a funnel chart, and actually tell you where all of your leads come from, and you can actually see your entire business, who sold what, all on this one picture once it's been set up. So it's really cool, and yes, it's a really handy. I mean, you can run your whole business from it. You don't really need any other software, and it's extremely well priced. It's a fraction of Salesforce. And Salesforce isn't as good. It's more expensive, and it does half the stuff. So it's definitely something that we can chat about. So, who do we work with? We work with renewable energy companies. Like I said, I did own a solar power company called Supreme Power in Australia from 2010 to 2018. So that's my speciality. We've also worked with lawyers. I've run many real estate agent campaigns, which worked really well. Orthodontists, accountants, gyms, restaurants, also coaches and consultants. But we'll work with anyone who's got a service-based business, and only a very small people who actually have a product-based business. But we can run ads for product-based businesses as well. People I don't work with, anyone not striving to be the best in their industry. I've had taken on people in the past, and we don't really make a little bit of money and are not really driven to make any more, grow their business. And, you know, that's not what we want. We're also not willing to change. Working, we don't want to work with anyone who isn't willing to change and move with the times. A lot of people are stuck in their traditional, marketing strategies. And, you know, that's great if you just want to make a bit of money, but you're never really going to grow, because the people who are moving with the times and automating their business and creating systems are the ones that are really going to scale, and the ones who are going to make the big money, you know. And we're not really wanting to work with anyone who complains and blames others for their failures. Talks about the government doing this and such and such is not enough. I can't be bothered with it. Don't call us if you're number 3. Okay. So who I am looking for is service-based businesses wanting to upgrade their marketing strategy. So you might have only done traditional marketing for the last several years. And that's cool. When I was actually running my solar power company, we did a lot of buying leads in. It wasn't until 2016, 17 when I really got into digital marketing and realized what I was missing out on. And I wish I'd got into it earlier, to be quite honest. But, we need people who are willing to take advantage of the largest database in the world. So if you can see this for what it is, and you're not using Facebook to run ads, then you may have had maybe a bad experience in the past. And there's a lot of young people coming on, being taught how to use Facebook and then trying to sell it to people and not really having the experience in order to, make it work. So anyone who is either has staff member wanting to train, or if you want to do done for your youth service, we can do either of them, whatever's best for you. So my offer to you is basically to have a telephone call or Zoom call to see if we're a good fit. We only take on about 20% of the calls we get, so 1 in every 5. And the reason why that is because I only want to work with the people, we can't be in competition with ourselves. So, we only looking for, a handful of people to work with, because it's a big world out there. And, we work with America, Canada, UK, Australia, and New Zealand. And when you put all those people together, it's 500 million people. So, we don't have to work with everyone. So I'm just really cherry picking the right people. And if we aren't a good fit, I can maybe point you in the right direction where we can have a fit, but where you can actually get what you want. But I certainly, happy to jump on a call with you, have a quick chat, and see if it's something that, if it's going to work or not. So thanks for watching this. I hope it's been helpful. Explain what we do, how we do it, and click the button below. And that'll take you to a calendar link, and you can book in a quick call with me, quick 15-minute call, and we can take it from there. Okay, have a lovely day. Thank you.